So this guy hands out business cards advertising wars fought, revolutions started, assassinations plotted. And that guy is Woody Harrelson's dad. I'm not kidding. The same lovable goofball from Cheers. His father was literally a contract killer who murdered a federal judge. Oh, and he also claimed he shot JFK while surrounded by SWAT teams. This story is absolutely insane. You know Woody Harrelson, right? The dopey bartender from Cheers who became this chill stoner guy? Well, his dad, Charles, was out here literally advertising murder services on business cards like he was running a lawn care company. But we'll get back to Woody in a minute. First, you gotta understand this drug dealer who started this whole mess. So there's this guy, Jimmy Chara. Jimmy is basically Pablo Escobar, but for weed. This dude lives in Vegas casinos with literal suitcases full of cash. I mean, he's so rich, he kicks Frank Sinatra out of the Sinatra suite when he wants to use it. In 1975, Jimmy makes $18 million on one deal. That's like $86 million today. But bro spends it as fast as he makes it because he's got a serious gambling problem. Now, Jimmy's got a big problem. He's about to go on trial in front of this judge named John Wood Jr. Everyone calls him Maximum John because this guy gives out the harshest drug sentences in Texas. We're talking life sentences for selling weed. Jimmy knows he's screwed. He's looking at life in prison. So what does Jimmy do? He decides to hire a hitman to kill the judge, and that's where Charles Harrelson comes in. This guy is Woody's dad, and he's not just any hitman. Charles is smart, super charming, and completely nuts. Remember those business cards I mentioned? This maniac is advertising murder like it's a service you can Yelp review. Jimmy agrees to pay Charles $250,000 to kill the judge, but how do you pay a hitman? Jimmy's wife, Elizabeth, gets handed a shoebox, and I mean a literal shoebox, stuffed with $250,000 in cash. $250,000 passed off like she's returning shoes to the mall. Okay, so Charles needs a rifle for this job. His wife, Joanne, goes to buy one and she needs a fake name, right? So what alias does she use? Faking, as in faking. I'm not joking. The hitman's wife used a pun as her fake name to buy a murder weapon. So on May 29th, 1979, Judge Wood is getting into his car outside his house when, boom, he gets shot in the back. One shot, he's dead. This becomes the first assassination of a federal judge in like 100 years. The FBI completely loses their minds.
The assassination of federal Judge Wood sparked a multi-million-dollar investigation and mass media coverage. Within these clippings, we found his last words. According to his widow, he said, "It's almost 8:30. I've got to get to court."
Here's the crazy part. Woody has no idea what his dad does for a living.
I remember him going away a lot, and he'd come home and he'd have his arms stretched out, and we'd all run and hug him, and I always had a great opinion of him. He was very loving, you know, but, you know, he wasn't really around that much for my childhood.
Woody's 11 years old, and Charles is always in and out of prison for random stuff. But Woody doesn't know he's a professional killer. So how does Woody find out? He's sitting in a car waiting for someone to pick him up from school. And he hears on the radio, Charles V. Harrelson on trial for murder. Woody's sitting there like, that can't be another Charles V. Harrelson. That's my dad. Can you imagine being 11 and finding out your dad's a murderer from a car radio? And this next part is crazy. Charles is on the run for months. He's high out of his mind on cocaine and paranoid as hell. He thinks the feds have bugged his tires. He shoots them, which tips off the cops. Next thing you know, he has a 6-hour standoff with SWAT teams, and while he's got a gun to his head, he starts claiming he killed a bunch of people, including JFK. He's literally surrounded by SWAT teams screaming, "I killed Kennedy." Obviously, nobody believes him, but it shows you how nuts this guy is. So they put Charles on trial. And where do you think they hold this trial? In the John H. Wood Jr. Federal Courthouse. That's right, they're trying the guy for murdering Judge Wood in a building named after Judge Wood. The irony is incredible. Charles gets convicted and sentenced to 2 life sentences. As they're dragging him away, he blows a kiss to his wife, Joanne, who also gets 25 years for buying that rifle. Now here's where things get interesting. Woody and his brothers actually think their dad got screwed over.
Well, he is in prison right now for the killing of a federal judge. I think that it was not a fair trial.
Woody, do you think your father is innocent of that second murder? That's what I've heard.
I'm not saying my father's a saint, but I think he's innocent of that.
See, the evidence against Charles was pretty sketchy. The murder weapon? They only found the wooden stock of a rifle in a swamp, not even the whole gun. The key witness had to be hypnotized to remember seeing Charles, and that kind of testimony wouldn't even be allowed in court today. Plus, the FBI illegally wiretapped attorney-client conversations. Even Charles's own lawyer said the evidence was dog shit and gave him only a 20% chance of actually pulling the trigger. So Woody spends millions of dollars trying to get his dad a new trial. They all have to travel to Denver for the hearing, and they're staying in the same hotel. The hearing goes incredibly well. Charles's lawyer said there was no doubt the judge would have granted a new trial. After the trial wraps up, but before the judge rules, the brothers decide to hit the hotel gym. Woody goes downstairs to play basketball by himself. That's when Judge Beery, the same judge deciding his father's fate, walks out and they bump into each other. Turns out the judge coaches Special Olympics basketball and uses White Men Can't Jump, which Woody had just filmed, to motivate his team. They recognize each other and play one-on-one for an hour and a half. Just two guys playing ball. Nothing about the case, just basketball. But somebody takes a photo of them playing together. When it gets out, the judge feels ethically trapped. If he grants Charles a new trial, people will think the basketball game influenced him. If he denies it, people will think he's overcompensating. So Judge Beery recuses himself. The case gets reassigned to a new judge who immediately denies everything. Charles's lawyer said if it wasn't for that basketball game, his dad would have gotten a new trial. Woody accidentally destroyed his father's best chance at freedom through an innocent game of basketball.
There's probably a lot of people who should be behind bars. I don't necessarily think he's one of them.
While his dad was out here actually killing people, Woody became famous for playing killers in movies. Natural Born Killers, No Country for Old Men, Rampart, all violent psychos. Charles Harrelson died in prison in 2007. His final wish was to have his ashes scattered over Judge Wood's courthouse so he could haunt the judge forever. They said no. That is wild. If you thought Woody Harrelson's dad was insane, wait till you hear about the lottery mastermind who stole $24 million and was caught because of 2 hot dogs.